and frightening, considering, in my situation, how many people I had around me and wanted around me to encourage me and support me and rejoice with me when my son was born. But God has a plan, and his plan is good. And I love this part that says, Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Because I think that's the moment where she's beginning to see. She's beginning to put the pieces together and see what God's message is, what God was doing in all of this. She had to travel to Bethlehem. That was intentional. If she'd already lived in Bethlehem, she would have just had Jesus in her house. Well, that may have been okay, but that wasn't God's plan, as we'll see. And because she was 9 months pregnant, because the call came at the last minute, it took her such a long time to get there, that then there was no room for them, so then she ended up in the barn. But what do we see? That Jesus wanted to tell the shepherds first, and they were the first to come. And I'm sure that they would not have been allowed in the inn. Just like today, if we had a whole group of homeless people come to the Marriott or to the Ritz-Carlton, I think they'd be turned away. I don't think they'd be allowed in. She had to be in the barn because that was their environment. When the shepherds arrived, they saw Mary, who smelled like a donkey. She had hay in her hair. She was disheveled. Her clothes were dirty. She'd been sleeping on the ground. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't pretty. But this was their environment. This is what they were used to. This is what they were familiar with. They were able to walk in without any shame, without being uncomfortable, without feeling like they had to clean up to come and see the King, to come and see baby Jesus. And that's what's incredible, is Jesus was completely approachable from birth. They were able to come as they were. And that's what Jesus says to us today too. Come as you are. You don't have to clean up your act. You don't have to change your life and your lifestyle. Just come as you are. Whatever you're doing, whoever you are, whatever you've been involved in, just come as you are, and Jesus will love you and accept you right there. You don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be embarrassed. It's incredible. They weren't intimidated. They were right at home. God did have a plan, and it was very good. We could see, she began to see God was with her in all of that. He was in control of every single detail, even to the humble place of birth. But like Mary, we don't always understand God's plan at first. And looking back over my life, I see so many examples and stories of where things turned a different direction, and it was hard and it was difficult. But later, it turned out for good. And I just want to share one story with you this morning from my life. When I first went to college, I went to a private Christian school, and I loved it there. It was like heaven on earth. It was incredible. But I was there mainly on scholarship. And after a year and a half, my GPA dropped to a 3.45, and it needed to be a 3.5 in order to maintain my academic scholarship. So 0.5 of a point below the standard meant that I could no longer afford the school that I love to be in. And I didn't understand, and I was really heartbroken, and there was a lot of tears and conversations with my parents and my friends and my roommates. But in the end, I had to leave mid-semester and go home and go to the state school. Where was God in that? But at the state school, I found a group called Chi Alpha Christian Fellowship and got involved with Chi Alpha, and then my life took a new turn. And after I graduated, I became a campus minister and a licensed minister, and went on to spend a decade in campus ministry. And in fact, I wouldn't even be standing here this morning as a licensed minister with the ability to speak to you guys if it hadn't been for that drop in my GPA. So did God work it out for good for me? Yes, he did. And did he work it out for good for others? Well, one day when I was a minister, I got a call and they said, there's a group of students at the University of Wyoming, and their campus pastors left and became missionaries in Europe, and they had another campus pastor that was hired, and she was going to come, and then she has had some terrible health problems. She's hospitalized, and she's not going to be able to be in campus ministry anymore.